news has been absolutely insane this week. We have gotten so many different articles, so many different interesting things to talk about, so this is going to be the latest generation. The most important news is that we're almost at 400 subscribers. One tiny little bit more, and we're at 400. Now, remember, I do eventually want to get monetized, and it's not because I need the money, it's because then I can do cool things for you, buy things, that'll be fun, because right now, spending a lot of my time on this. Anyway, it's going to be so great. I think this channel is growing so much, and I'm very excited about it. Also, yes, we do make opinion-based content. You're not, pseudo or something for figuring that out. Yes, indeed we do. It's in the channel description. Always has been. Always will be. So this is car news. This is usually very subjective. There's some opinions involved here. First off, Volvo U-turns on plans to sell fully electric cars by 2030. This is some of the biggest news yet. Now, our favorite automakers, we always like to pretend like they're smart, right? Toyota. I like to pretend like Toyota's ahead of the game, right? We all like to do that. BMW fans, everyone. But Volvo seems to actually be that smart. Because I actually filmed this earlier and then new news came out, so I'm refilming it. In the original iteration, I was talking about how Volvo announced that they were going to make all electric cars by 2030. They've just U-turned on that in the past, day, right? That's why car news hasn't come out yet, right? Which is absolutely crazy. And the other saddest thing is Volvo warns time is running out to adapt. Volkswagen, this is sadder than a Leslie Gore song. Essentially, Volkswagen is, screaming at Volvo, how could you do this? The time to adapt to EVs is now. Be ahead of the curve, right? Well, Volkswagen themselves are not doing well. Union workers are going nuts. They're demanding a lot of stuff, and I'm not saying that unions are wrong. I'm just saying in this thing, they're really busting, they're not helping Volkswagen here. So, union workers are making a lot of demands from Volkswagen that they just can't do. They're having to close factories, and they're going to have to cut costs. Volkswagen, them investing in EVs, them killing off the Golf, them making all these decisions, turning more into EVs, will end up costing them their company. Or go bankrupt. It's looking very dire for Volkswagen. And a lot of people were thinking that they were going to have a come-to-Jesus moment and realize the mistakes. But with them urging, time is running out for Volvo, I think it's definitely fair to say that they're not going to make a U-turn like Volvo did anytime soon. They're 100% going to stay on the sinking ship. They're not going to get on the door. They're not going to, say, hey, maybe there's room for two on the door, with Volvo, another decently priced brand. They're just going to, stay sinking. So that's fine. Like I said, Volvo has given up its plan to sell only EVs by 2030. This is now the second automaker to just give up on EVs as a whole. Now, these general statements may seem, they're not giving up on them. They're just, stopping the 2030 plan. This is a big deal because before they couldn't even say anything bad about EV technology, and now they're saying, yeah, we're just not going to do it. We get this, and that's a very watered-down version of the discussions that I'm sure they've actually had, so it's got to be a lot worse than them just deciding not to do the 2030 thing. I also get it, EVs are stupid, we all know that. There's also, Volvo is bringing back saloons with the all-new ES90. Now, people have speculated what it's going to look like. This is the top picture for what they think it's going to look like. It's going to be a luxury saloon. The most interesting thing about it is the Polestar 4. This is also another, hatchbacky, saloony thing. Polestar and Volvo have been separating themselves because Geely, right? Geely wants more EVs. They want to utilize Polestar without having Volvo attached to that. So Polestar's kind of been running solo, so I want to see exactly how much Polestar technology is in this new Volvo, or if Volvo is truly going solo style and developing this EV all on their own, which I'm sure they're not, but hey, we never know, because this flop had to have been approved by Geely. A car company doesn't just change its entire future course without letting the parent company at least know. So I'm sure Geely is thinking about that too, which is big because these are Chinese automakers, technically, right? Also, in other sad news, Stellantis temporarily pauses Jeep Wrangler and Grand Cherokee production. Now, this, we've all seen it coming. This is the end of Chrysler. That may sound weird, right? You're probably thinking, well, Quokka, what the heck, right? This isn't Chrysler, this is Jeep. Well, I'm sure you're not a troglodyte, and I'm sure you know that, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Chrysler are, all owned by the same people. Where the bad news from this is, I'm trying to put this in ways that are easy to understand. Chrysler has never really had deep pockets, right? Especially when they were owned by Mercedes. They've been owned by gigantic parent companies like Stellantis and Mercedes before, but they've never really had access to those funds. So when things are going bad, they feel it, right? It's not like, some gigantic conglomerate like Geely, right? If Volvo was doing bad, Geely would just, I'm sure you can, just toss out the money. They don't care. Chrysler hasn't had the privilege of doing that. So when things go bad for Chrysler, things go bad for Chrysler. And them pausing the Jeep Wrangler and Grand Cherokee is bad. The Grand Cherokee and Jeep Wrangler are some of their highest selling vehicles. And if Jeep isn't selling, Jeep has always been the saving grace for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, right? For Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram. Yeah. They've always kind of held them up when times were tough, right? The sales from these vehicles, these trendy SUVs, were always holding them up. And now that they're not, this might just be the death, right? We don't have that pattern anymore. We don't have the cloud cars, skyrockets, goes down, the K cars. We don't have that anymore, right? K as in K, not KEI. This is very bad. Also, Ford sales have jumped 13% with trucks and hybrids powering the way. With trucks and hybrids, neither of which are EVs. You may have heard, Ford's previous plan. This is just proving to automakers, and I think this is definitely, I'm sure Volvo was already thinking about it, but I think this definitely set in that, EVs, they're not going to be successful. They will never be successful. My prediction is, and remember, if this is totally wrong, please clip it. 10 years from now, you can say what an idiot I am and parade me on YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Flip Flop or whatever the hell we have them. Right? I think that in 20 years, EVs will be, imagine trying to buy a used Coda right now. That's going to be all EVs, right? EVs are garbage. They're not renewable. They cost a lot to make. And they're not good for the automakers. They're not good for anyone. They're not renewable. No wonder sales are skyrocketing when they're not having to spend so much money on this, bullcrap. Stellantis, this guy, this idiot, is also laying off, 2,450 U.S. workers as Ram 1500 Classic production ends. Yep, they're killing the Ram 1500. Another great seller for, Chrysler. But, Trevevavaz knows, his cars. Ugh. It's ridiculous. They're just killing off their best-selling models, and we've already seen the only saving grace before was Jeep, and now Jeep's not there anymore, which is getting worse and worse and worse. New car sales have hit the sales dip for the 5th straight month, trade groups estimate. This is not good. It's not bad either. As you know, we're likely heading into a recession. It's going to be interesting to see how our car market adapts, right? We've seen a lot of smaller companies, like Suzuki. A lot of those just get killed off during the last recession housing market crash in 2008. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. Because as you know, all the small little manufacturers, they're all huddled together right now. Like Mitsubishi is with, big players like Nissan and Honda. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. New heavier vehicles contribute to increased fatalities and multi-car crashes and pedestrian accidents. Usually this wouldn't be something I would talk about, but this is kind of interesting. We've seen over the past years, look at the difference between a 2005 Toyota Camry and a 2007 Toyota Camry. The 2007 is much more bubbly, and it's just a lot fatter, right? And that's for safety. But, with safety, with all that extra size and weight, comes weight. And weight is always bad in accidents, which means pedestrians, which can't, pedestrians don't evolve like cars do. They don't get heavier, they don't get bigger crumple zones. Which means, all this safety technology that we're putting into the cars is likely worse for pedestrians in the end. And increased fatalities and multi-car crashes. They're just heavier now, right? A nice little light 1998 Toyota Camry, it would, going 25 miles per hour, that would have a hard time taking down a telephone pole. A Camry today, it's like a, solid freight train or something. So much momentum, so heavy. I'm not surprised to see this happening. This is just going to be a trend that we're seeing. Car companies' decisions come back to bite them in the ass. Bill proposing mandatory new speeding alert systems in new cars. Heads to Gavin Newsom. As you know, I really don't like California. I really don't when it comes to everything. I just don't like them, right? I visited Hacienda Heights. It was okay. I think that a lot of their laws are stupid, and the way that they goes about things is stupid. I'm not going to get into that. And again, it's not because I'm making this political. It's just because it's objectively a bad decision, right? This is just getting worse. We're seeing internal combustion engine cars being banned in Florida. Speeding alert systems, they're just taking stuff that we like about cars just away one by one by one. And I'm not trying to, get you to buy expensive supplements or something, make you feel angry and outraged. I'm just saying that is an objective fact. They are slowly by slowly, taking over the things that we love about cars for reasons that have almost no grounds. Speeding alert systems would be very annoying. I know almost every single driver out there goes at least 1 to 2 miles per hour over the speed limit normally, right? As you usually do to catch up with the other drivers that are also driving 1 to 2 miles per hour over the speed limit. It's very weird. We also see a lot of counties, especially down here in Florida, using, like traffic alert systems, like the cams that take a picture of your license plate and then send you bills in the mail that you don't even remember, doing. Those systems as like tax revenue, like they're putting in things and like, yeah, we're going to get money from this when it should be just to make things safer. Now they're putting them in everywhere, not to make roads safer, but just to get more money, which is very, very annoying. I'm not surprised to see that. Also, the Nissan Armada, this is good it's good and bad. First of all, it's bad in the sense that this is another fluff piece car. I'm sure it's going to be somewhat reliable. I'm sure it's not going to be that bad. But this is just another gigantic SUV. They're not bad, but don't we have enough? The rebadging is fine. Not bad. Volvo's also doing this. They've also rebadged their... Did I already show you this? Yeah. There's a new XC90. That's it. There's not a whole lot to say about that, The Armada is just getting updated. But the good part about this is Nissan has been leaning heavily into EVs, and it's good to make them see something new that's updated with fresh styling that doesn't only have an electric engine in it. That's going to be very interesting to see. Nissan is also working on the new Silvia sports car. Now, this is official news. We've seen these concepts before, like this Nismo Nissan that we were teased with before, but the production version has still yet to be approved. So, just exciting news overall. We've seen a lot of hot hatches and a lot less of sports cars. That's not really necessarily that bad of a thing, but, we still like our sports cars. So this is great to see that Nissan's actually working on one. Another thing is that Volvo is also paving the way for different car companies by offering a free over-the-air infotainment update for millions of older vehicles. These are vehicles made from 2020 and up. That's just great to see. Car companies, it seems like they just poop out a car and then it's your problem now. If anything goes wrong, it's your problem. They already sold it. That's all they needed to do. That's the bare minimum. You're just stuck with it and that's fine. It's very good. This is, by the way, the new XC90 system. It's very good just to see them still getting updates, security updates. Everything is connected to Wi-Fi now, especially our cars. Just good to make sure that things are staying relevant, right? Also, BMW is launching a new hydrogen car in 2028. This is where the news would stop usually. All the articles from here on out are rather a lot recenter than these. These are a day or two old, or hours old in some of these. Like with the XC90, they revealed that like 9 hours ago. So this is big news. As you know, BMW has worked with Toyota before to make fuel cell hydrogen vehicles. So this, I think, is good for one of two reasons, right? Number one, this is going to be great to combat, Nissan, Honda, and the Mitsubishi partnership. They're all partnering to make EVs, and they all think it's going to be a jolly good, fun family fair time. A lot of people don't think it's going to go that way. I personally don't think it's going to go that way, but it's just good to see Toyota. Toyota's very isolated in the way that they do things, right? They maybe work with Subaru or maybe work with Mazda occasionally on things, but it's good to see them, collaborating with other bigger car companies like BMW. And also the big difference here, hydrogen is renewable. Hydrogen is the future. And it's just good to see that more of these cars are going into production, especially from bigger brands, right? Also, Toyota and Nissan are also working together to challenge China's EV battery reign. China, they're very interesting. They can make a lot of stuff very, very, very cheaply, which is why a lot of people choose to make stuff in there. And for these new batteries, lithium-ion, that we're seeing in all these EVs, that's no change, right? They're still making a lot of those in China. So Toyota and Nissan are both working on solid-state batteries. Solid-state batteries is essentially taking away some of the chemical components of a battery and swapping them out for generally more stable, easier to manufacture, and even more importantly, renewable batteries, right? Now, you may be asking, why would Toyota be at all interested in this with Nissan if they're not making EVs? Well, if you don't know, hydrogen cars aren't hydrogen, right? They're not just a hydrogen engine. They have a hybrid component to it, right? The hydrogen generates electricity, and then the car drives exactly like a hybrid, right, with a combination. So it still uses batteries, but it's a lot easier to make better batteries than it is to change the entire power grid. So this is definitely good to see that they're just working on this. Even if we're not planning on using it all that much, it's still good to just have the technology. Ditching EVs for hybrids is already paying off for automakers. BMW plans to launch a hydrogen car by 2028 with Toyota's help, and the UAW wins recognition at the Tennessee GM lithium battery plant. Just great, just a good, happy, family-friendly, good old moment, not bad at all. Just good to see. You know, we've seen this coming. We've known it's going to happen. We've been saying this. I've been saying this since like 2018. It's just good to see that finally paying off, right? Lexus LFA, this is so amazing. This is what I love about Toyota. They always find a way to sweep you out your feet. Toyota can make some of the most boring, basic cars ever. An example I've used before is the 2007 Toyota Camry LE Beige. I mean, it's not a bad car. It'll run forever. It's probably the best car you could buy, and yet it's so boring. I love Toyota. That doesn't mean that I cannot admit that they are boring. I appreciate Toyota for being one of the only automakers that, yeah, we're boring, and we're fine with that, right? Honda is still inferiorly on, so is, you know, Mazda, pretending like they're a luxury brand or something. You're an average economy car brand, just accept that. Toyota has. But my second favorite part about Toyota, other than them staying consistent and being boring, is they are just so insane sometimes. We've seen it with the LFA, right? We've seen it with the new LC, and we're now going to see it with the new LA. Now, Toyota did a great job with the LA in the past. LFA. The LFA is a legendary name and noted as the best car to have ever entered production. This new LFA is just going to be great. And the best part about it is right here. First of all, a lot of people have been, you know, they're killing off the V8. It's all turbocharged 4 cylinders. I believe the new Subaru Outback even has a turbocharged 4-cylinder, which is weird for a big wagon like that, right? We've seen a lot less V8s. Toyota is not only putting a V8 in this car, it's also a hybrid. And it's not to mention 900 horsepower. And 900 horsepower, that's what you get, right? We've seen, you know, Civics and Corollas that are just slightly modded that can get, you know, 100 horsepower more than they were with supercharging and turbocharging. Imagine doing that to this engine and tuning it. Oh, that's going to be so amazing. I'm sure there's going to be like 2,000 horsepower LFAs out there. If you really know how to tune the engine, you really know how to make the modifications to make it go fast. 900 horsepower from stock is amazing. Another Toyota slam dunk, right? Keeping the V8 alive, and we're keeping the LFA alive, which is great. Honda scores while Nissan suffers empty-handed. Hybrids help Honda, yeah. So, if you don't know, Nissan is delusional. That's what they're delulu, right? They think that EVs are the only way forward. EVs are the future. EVs are so amazing, you know. They're not. Just making that clear, they're not. Bubble bursted, water's all over the floor now. Yeah, that's true. So Nissan hasn't cared about, you know, hybrid vehicles. When Toyota was creating the hybrid system in the 1990s, Nissan was working on the Leaf, which would be later released in 2009. The Leaf is kind of like Nissan's hybrid, except it never really succeeded all that well in terms of sales. This is very bad for Nissan. You know, we've already seen the effects of this new partnership. Honda's just better off with hybrids. You can say all you want about Honda's quality and stuff like that. It's great that they're working on hybrids. Nissan suffers empty-handed. EVs are not sustainable. Again, EVs they're not the future. They're not what people have been promised. And they're not good, right? Sounded Scottish there. They're not what people have been promised. Oh, God, no. Anyway, it's just good to see, right? That Nissan is finally, hopefully, realizing the all-new Subaru Baja pickup stays alive. So, now, this is where it gets weird. The Baja and Brat are both 4 letters, and they're both historically amazing Subaru vehicles. We don't know what it's going to be called. We know that there is an all-new Subaru Ute/truck pickup coming out, right? But we don't know whether it's going to be a Brat or a Baja. I'm thinking Brat. The official thing says Brat. But they've also talked about the Baja. Maybe both. We don't know. All I know is that it's going to compete with the Ford Ranger. Yeah, the Ford Ranger. No, the tiny Ford, the tiny truck. The useful one. The Honda Ridgeline, stuff like that. You know, SUVs turned into trucks. Because that's what essentially this is. It's not going to be like a legacy Ute like it used to be. It's definitely going to be more of an Outbacky type vehicle. Just good to see, right? We're happy to see these legacy vehicles come back. You know, nowadays it seems like every single new vehicle is just invented, like the Kia Fart or the Chevrolet Cruze. Car now, that's a brand name now. You've heard of that now. You know, it's our car now. It's just good to see these old names be revived in ways that are actually good instead of just being like, the Subaru Baja, it's a crossover EV now! Yay! You know, it's good that Subaru is actually making it a truck and not making it an EV. So, with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope I have thoroughly talked your ear off.